Napa know-how.
A Napa guy knows more isn't always better, unless we're talking about full-size vans. These beasts do more than get you from A to B. They have so much space a man can live in it. With shag carpeting, waterbed, and a sweet lava lamp, these mobile abodes have all the comforts of home. With quality parts and plenty of Napa know-how, you can keep the original tiny house running longer, stronger. That's Napa know-how.
Napa know-how.
Blog Talk Radio. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to a very special Saturday edition of Sam Crow Radio. I know that most of you were expecting us to have our show yesterday, and I apologize for that. It's been quite the whirlwind this week for me, professionally and personally. So I thought it might be a good idea to go ahead and switch the show to today, first and foremost, because most of you are off today, so you can't actually listen in. And then second of all, it's always a great opportunity for the guest itself to be able to have individuals to call in to ask him questions and to get to know him. So I think it's always important to be able to give both of those entities to you guys. So hence here we are, obviously. So I'm very excited. Today's guest is obviously going to be Joseph Julian Soria. Not only is he an individual who has been on Sons of Anarchy before, but additionally a number of different dramatic series, as well as providing us entertainment on Army Wives, which, as I understand it, he has just been picked up as a regular for that series. So I'm extremely excited to say that he is the person coming on our show today. Should be quite an interesting transition here, because last time, as you know, we had Emilio Rivera on the show, and I wanted to do a quick shout out to him because I know just the other day his wife had referenced 23 years of sobriety. Absolutely amazing feat. He is in and of itself quite the amazing person himself, but just to accomplish something such as that is just not anything that we need to overlook, obviously. So I wanted to definitely make it a point to be able to sit and to discuss that for just a second, because I know full well, even though I've not fallen victim to alcohol or drug abuse, I know in the past, of course, up until very recently, nicotine was my drug of choice. And so it's still an ongoing struggle for myself in trying to get off and to stay completely sober as it speaks to that addiction. So kudos to him. So my dear friend Emilio Rivera, I just wanted to say again, thank you so much for coming on the show, and so very proud of you to hear about your accomplishment. So we don't want to keep Joseph on hold, so let's go ahead and get him going here and see what he has to say to us today.
Hello.
Well, hi there.
How you doing?
I'm better. How are you doing?
I'm a bit tired. I got like literally about 2 hours sleep, but
oh
I'm
no!
good.
Great. I'm making you stay up after you've had no sleep. Wonderful. Now I feel guilty.
No, it's a great thing. It's a great thing.
Yes, I definitely think so. I'm really, really excited, and I have all these very interesting questions for you. So this should be interesting, and hopefully some of our audience members will be able to give you something different and interesting to talk about too. I kind of wanted to start off the interview talking. This is quite the rare occasion in that you have two qualities that resonate, two different things here. It's strange. First of all, the last interview that I did on Sam Crow Radio, of course, was Emilio Rivera. And coincidentally, obviously, you both obviously not only played in the same movie, but you both have a tendency to play what we call those antagonistic roles, obviously.
Yes.
So I was curious to ask a couple questions about that. First off, does your strength lie in producing an on-screen character whose somewhat morals and ideals can be corrupt at times, or has your best work, do you think, lied in a character, let's say, for instance, such as Hector off of Army Wives?
I believe my best work is actually yet to be seen, and maybe some of it will be seen in the next 3 episodes of Army Wives, which is great, and that's showing vulnerability. That's where I think my strength lies. Showing all my characters actually come from a vulnerable place. I start there because it is what I believe people relate to, and it's if you come from a vulnerable place, people are more inclined to feel for your character and actually care, as opposed to just playing the role one-dimensional and being an ass or whatever the case may be.
Okay, I see what you mean. Yeah, Emilio had a very interesting comment about that.
Can I swear on the show? I don't know.
Yes, you can say shit, you can say fuck, because your predecessors have done that on occasion. So yes, we're internet radio, so you're not that.
We're about to limit, like, limit me on my, because I swear a lot. That's how I talk. But,
well, I wish somebody would have actually told you that. But no, I think I'm sorry if I didn't mention that to you. Yes, and Sam Crow Radio, just like my other show, very, very open forum. I want you to act in the way that you are. So if you walk around saying shit all the time, then don't be concerned if you're going to say shit on my program, because it's 100% allowed, because that's who you are. So
well, that's good.
That's how it is.
That's good shit to know. That's good shit to know.
Yeah, there you go. As you just said, that's good shit to know. There we go. We're off on a good roll. It's funny because when I talked to Emilio and we did our interview, he was pretty adamant about, you know what, I love being the bad guy, and he was just consonant with, you know what, this is me, this is all about me, this is how it is. Do you ever find yourself feeling a little out of sorts or having a hard time getting into character, knowing that you have to play the consummate bad guy? Is that much harder for you?
No, it's not. Actually, I mean, I guess you could say I'm blessed with the ability to have a wide range, or as far as my range is concerned, so I could tap into that very easy. It's not very hard at all. Yeah.
Okay. Now, maybe you could project to our listeners other real-life character actors that have played dark leads, which you either try to pattern yourself after or you kind of wish to be compared to in the eyes of the viewer maybe someday, like maybe someone you really look up to in the real world that's consummately playing that bad guy.
Oh, man. I really, to be honest with you, I don't compare myself to anybody. I would definitely admire a lot of actors for what they do. Emilio is one of them. And there's just it's you know, when those questions come up, I don't have answers for them. It's just at different times. It's at different times I'll see an actor and be like, I love his work. You know who's really got a hold of my attention right now is Javier Bardem, and
oh yeah,
he's just a phenomenal actor. He did great in the last Bond film, and then he also was amazing in what was that one that took place in Mexico? And who was he in it with? Yeah, the long hair. I'm horrible with this.
Is this the guy? Is he I'm trying. Oh, that's probably the other guy. Or is it the guy, the one that was Oscar nominated, where he played the really bad guy? Is that right?
Yeah.
Or
he actually won. He won an Oscar, actually, I believe.
Yeah, he did, and he was like evil, terrible in that. I know what you're talking about, but I can't think of it.
He did a Coen Brothers film, and I believe that's what he won the award for. And he played the villain in that. And was this demented character, sick, and he does that, but then he can also play like a paraplegic or whatever it was in his other movies. I think it was based on a true story.
Okay.
So that's I guess if you want to say, I wouldn't necessarily call him just a villain because I think he does more than that, but he plays it very, very well. He plays everything.
Sure, I imagine so, definitely. And then, you know, obviously when you're projecting a darker character, how do you know? This is always, and I like to ask this question because obviously most of us aren't actors, for instance. So let's say you get up in front of that camera and you're doing what you do. How do you know internally that you are head on with this? Or do you have these days where you're just like, you know what, I tried to be this character and it's not working for me? How do you know when you're right on with something?
I just feel it. I mean, the way I train myself is I train myself to be gullible. And it sounds interesting or weird, but it's true. I train myself to be able to believe what's on the page to be true, and that, like, I transform myself. Every character I play is a version of me. It's me as that, whatever that is. And I take on whatever the characteristics are, I take them on. Even if I'll find it within myself. And, you know, the mind's powerful. The mind is so freaking powerful. So if you want to believe that you're something, you believe it, then the audience will believe it.
Oh, definitely.
I will say this, because you asked about, is it hard for certain things? There was the film Philly Brown that I did, and there was a scene where, you know, I got physical with a girl, and that was actually, doing that scene was a challenge for me because of my upbringing and some stuff that happened to my mom and dad and being abusive and stuff like that. That having to do that was really to allow myself to go there. Obviously, you know, it's all staged. I'm not actually hitting the girl and stuff, but I have to commit to it as if I am. It has to, the intention needs to be in my eyes. It needs to be in that split second, even though it's just half a second, whatever, that I make that move. I have to commit that I'm going to hit this girl. And that was one time where playing the antagonist was like, oh man, this, and I felt really bad about it. Like, are you okay? And that, you know, I was right after the scene was done, I was making sure that she was okay, and I was like, man, it shook me. It shook me. It actually shook me.
Oh my goodness gracious! Yeah, that was one of the questions that I had on here, which is to what degree or at what point, for instance, if a director comes to you or somebody on set says to you, you know what, I'm asking you to do this in a particular scene, and if you are largely uncomfortable with that, I guess, do you have a drawing line? Do you yourself individually say, I will not do this?
No, I don't.
Okay.
When you get on a job, I haven't come to a point where I found something. If I feel something is unnecessary, then like it's not going to make the scene any more powerful or something, then I'll object and I'll give my opinion. But I'm usually all in. I mean, it hasn't been a case where I haven't been all in. If I feel like I'm putting myself in danger or something, like maybe with stunts, then I'll, you know, that's why they have stuntmen. But so far,
oh no, of course.
So far I'm batting 1,000 actually on doing my own stunts.
Yay, this is a good thing, definitely. But, you know, I mean, obviously one has to ask because sometimes I know, depending on the character, you know, like Emilio had talked about that, and a couple other times I've talked to individuals where they do something that they are just so uncomfortable with from a moral standpoint or you just don't agree with. And it's hard to try to project that, even though it's an acting thing, as you know. You're still doing this to some degree, and so one has to think about that, of course. So it lends the other question, which is, do you have a particular place that you go inside of yourself or you go to something else, I should say, to get that momentum, to project this, what we would call maybe a so-called evil action or evil person to an audience?
I'll speak on a specific character. I played a character named Chico in a film called Crank High Voltage. And that character was just really evil. He was an evil character. He had all these tattoos, I mean, all over his face, all his torso and back and everything. And when I went into the audition, I felt too calm. I don't feel like the character. And what I did is I just started mind-fucking myself and just, like, I'm not racist, but I started, like, just started picking people out, like white, Asian, black, and started just, like, having all these negative viewpoints on them and thinking that they were thinking things about me, and I psyched myself into this mentality, so I was pissed. And that got me to where I needed to be. I walked into the room, and I was like, I went off on this, but I just walked into the room and just, like, I was in this place that was where I needed to be. Just I was upset and didn't give a fuck type of attitude, and that was right on point. That was right on point with the character. So I just starts going into that place. It's not just one place. It's different places with inside me that I attach to.
I gotcha. And do you think that that's made you more of a well-rounded character? Do you think, meaning as far as an actor goes, are you more well-rounded because you've played both sides of the fence, do you think? Meaning good guy and bad guy? I said, do you feel that it's made you more well-rounded, even though the bulk of what you do is Mr. Bad Guy, so to speak, and now that you've had this, you know, transition as far as with Army Wives goes, do you think, have you taken anything away from being the antagonist? Anything that kind of enriches you as far as character? Okay.
No, I don't think any side. I could play a villain just as easy as I can play. I could play an antagonist as easy as I can play a protagonist.
Okay, gotcha. All right, well, let's step back a little bit here now. I know that back in college that served to be the gateway where you had obtained a portion of teaching relative to your acting profession. So, question, how does the average individual transition into the field with a somewhat limiting education, meaning that you haven't had years and years of formal training?
You jump in head first. I mean, that's what I did.
How'd that work out for you?
I think it's working out so far. I mean, you know, what happened was, like I said, I took a theater class, fell in love with the idea of making a living by creating characters and telling story. As soon as I was done with the class, I walked up to the instructor, And I said, I'd like to set up a meeting with you and kind of get what is the beginning stages of how do I go about making a career of this, or how do I get in, so to speak. And so we set up that meeting. At the meeting, she goes, you need to get a headshot and a resume. And I said, well, what's a headshot?
Right.
And she told me what that was, and I just went online and started looking up photographers, and then going to looking in this paper called Backstage West, and looking for photographers and agents inside there, and just started asking questions, just always asking questions and seeking answers, reading books. There's a store out here called Samuel French, which is a bookstore for actors, and it has a bunch of plays and books on the business. So I went in there, grabbed a book on the business side of it, and then obviously a book about filmmaking.
Sure.
And just there. And then, just like I said, as I moved along, asked more questions.
Okay. Gotcha. Now, was there ever occasion where your passion for life had resided elsewhere? Because I know that previously you had served as a security position for Universal Studios. That's part of your resume, obviously. But did you ever way back, just looking back and saying, you know what, I really wanted to be this and I didn't, or maybe I should have tried this? Any of those sort of thoughts?
I mean, I played baseball for 9 years, like Little League, and then I played football in high school. So, I mean, I've always loved sports. I would have loved to have been an athlete. I think I should have got to soccer. I think I should have gotten to soccer. I would have had a better chance at that one. But, no, I think, if anything, we could say it would have been baseball. But it's hard. Being where I'm at now, it's very hard for me to say, like, oh, I wish I would have done something else.
Sure.
Because I am truly in love with what I do. And I'm glad my journey has brought me here.
That's what I thought, actually. The only one thing that I would have thought of is obviously your athletic basis there. I would have pictured you possibly in a professional setting as it relates to athletics. That was my one thought, was maybe he wanted to be a professional athlete at some point.
Or boxing.
Or model.
Or box. Or maybe, hey, who knows? But boxing's another one. I've always loved boxing. My grandfather was a boxer, and he used to, when I was just real little, he would, put his hands up like the mitts and everything. And when I was little, I used to go out and fight in the streets for fun. And I didn't think of it like I was being a bully, or it was for fun. Let's fight,
sure.
And my mom,
sure.
one time my mom, she was getting her hair done, hair and nails, one of those, and she asked where she was looking around, and she said, "Hey, we've seen Joseph," and they go, "I think he went out back with the other kids." And she went back there, and she sees me, and I'm like, come on, let's fight. I was talking to some kid, and he didn't want to fight. I was like, come on, let's do it. And she goes, "Joseph, get over here." And I go, Mom, I can take him. Like, I didn't look at my mom like, oh shit, I'm in trouble. It was like, Mom, back me up here. I thought
sure. I
that was,
imagine.
So maybe boxing could have been another avenue for me.
I gotcha. So I want to switch gears just a little bit, because for myself personally, I think what I find always intriguing is to ask individuals what drives them as far as in certain areas of their life, because I think it's fascinating. One area that I want to notice, or bring notice to, I should say, is you engage or have engaged on prior occasions in different events where the mission there is to provide either financial aid or awareness to those who are less fortunate, obviously. I note that you have opted to, in the past, offer contributions to the MS Society, and I know in 2011 you were an able-bodied participant in the Tough Mudder Ride to benefit the Wounded Warriors Project. So do maybe expound upon your reasoning, meaning is there a personal reason why you have an attachment to either one of these organizations, and how do you feel actors as a whole can utilize their Hollywood success, I should say, to further ensure that a worthy cause gains more recognition?
First question, it's a personal thing for me in regards to both MS and Wounded Warriors. With the MS, a friend of mine has MS. He found out, I believe it was 3 years ago now, and this has been 3 or 4 years, and I've been contributing to his part in in the MS walk or the things that he associates himself with. Whenever he does something, I support him, whether it be attending or if I could, give some financial aid, I'll do that to finding a cure for that. And then also, in regards to wounded warriors, my uncle is a Vietnam vet. Actually, I think two of my uncles are Vietnam vets, and that he wasn't wounded physically, but mentally, it was a toll on him. So I always just to kind of give and show my support to our troops, even before Army Wives,
Sure.
was something that and it's fun too. Going and running those courses is really cool, and it's a camaraderie with everybody. It's a really cool event.
Oh, I imagine so, definitely. I mean, do you think that?
What was the I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, I was going to touch on that as a matter of fact. Do you ever think that, or do you ever feel that, this has been cited before actually by other actors or individuals I've talked to in the celebrity realm, in society today nowadays, most people look to the celebrities or people with status because they know that they might further ensure the success of a worthy cause as far as recognition or financially and that kind of stuff. How do you think that, do you really feel that it's instrumental that without us, that they need those celebrities to get the word out there? I guess I find that a little disheartening, but I'm very encouraged by the fact that celebrities go out there and they take their time and their efforts and put into it. Do you think it's possible that Hollywood is doing all that they can do on that side of the fence as far as furthering worthy causes and organizations?
To answer your first part of the question, do I think it's necessary? Do they need it? No. Is it influential? Yes. People pay attention. People pay attention who the spotlight's on. So if you like someone for their work or how they look or whatever the case may be, if they're talking about something, and you're gonna tune in to find out what's going on. So it definitely, I think I answered the question. It definitely helps and can be a great tool to have someone with a high status or celebrity status and whatnot to bring attention to certain topics. It's good.
Definitely. I would agree with that, certainly. Okay, we're going to start, instead of doing the television side of things, I would prefer to do the film side of things first. I noticed that you give off the impression that you have a proficiently accurate intuition upon selecting performances on the big screen. And I say that because your presentation in the 4 films I'm about to mention not only are all premiered at Sundance Film Festival, but ultimately one of them proved to be the 3rd highest selling independent film in the festival's history, that being, of course, Hamlet 2. Other 3 films, namely, are, of course, All She Can, High School, and, of course, Philly Brown. So a couple questions there. To start off, and this is in your own opinion, how do you feel that platforms such as Sundance serve to secure a stable following for a film, or maybe offer credibility to any endeavor that's out there?
You're asking what does Sundance do for the project?
Yes, that's correct.
It's putting that stamp of if you get into Sundance, it's looked at as how it got to have that stamp of approval or like a value. I don't know, but all I knew is that that's where you wanted your films to go to. When I got into the industry, like, oh yeah, I got a film in a Sundance. I'm like, what's Sundance? When I first heard about it, what's Sundance? I didn't know. And then they're like, oh, it's this great film festival. Only the best films go there. And so
sure.
that's something. That's what is usually associated with that title, having a film in Sundance. So it does hold some weight.
Sure.
It gives your film some weight, it gives it that blue check mark, if you will, that Twitter check mark, of verification, so that it's
Sure.
It's quality.
Definitely. And in your own opinion, that was my other second thing I wanted to ask about. As far as looking at, obviously, Sundance typically is pretty infamous for those independent films, as compared to you doing like a feature film, let's say. Do you have a preference on working on independent films versus those that are maybe higher budgeted or feature films? Does it matter to you personally?
You know what? I choose projects for different reasons. Sometimes, so I'm going to answer it in a long form. And the way I answer it is I choose my projects for different reasons. Sometimes it's strictly even comes down to one scene. Sometimes it's the character. Sometimes it's the people I'm working with. A film as a whole, I mean, I may choose a film because it's a big studio film, and it's going to get me more exposure. And you know, with exposure can lead to more fans and more more popularity. If you're grabbing the audience's attention, and people want to see more of you, that's gonna create more value to the industry and to the studios.
Of course.
So that being the case, I would love to do big projects, but indie films tend to be the more meatier. That's where you find more meatier work. You know, the meatier characters and honestly the better stories. So,
okay.
To say which would I choose, if we're just talking about strictly about the work, then I would say indie film. But you know, you can have a lot of fun on some big budget projects. I mean, Crank wasn't a huge budget, but we had a nice budget. It was like, I think, $20 million or something like that. It was a nice little chunk of change, and I had a lot of fun in that movie, blowing stuff up and shooting guns. You know, it was fun. It was fun.
Sounds like a great day's work, definitely. Now, if you look back comparatively at each of these Sundance Festival films that you've done, now, had you ever had a concern or a preoccupation that the way that the audience perceived your character portrayals in those films might be different characteristically as it relates to the ones on the television characters? Because obviously what you play on TV as compared to how you play in film is a little bit different. So is there ever a concern for you in terms of how the audience will perceive you in either venue or either forum?
In a big picture, no, because it just shows my range of my work. But at the same time, you know, even with Philly Brown playing the character MC Wyatt, I was when that role came to my attention through Gina Rodriguez, who stars in the film, and she's like, you know, you got to do this project, you got to do this character, and I read the breakdown for it, and then I read the material, and I was like, oh my God, I know what's gonna happen if I play this character. People are gonna hate me, you know. I go, but hey, that means I did my job. So, but it's me personally. Part of me is like, I don't want people to hate me, but then again, you know, if they remember that it's just a movie. You know what I'm saying? I'm playing a character.
Exactly. It's a portrayal,
but
not for you.
I don't ever think, oh man, this is gonna look bad upon me if I play this character. No.
I understand. Now, do you think that in any way that performing in the films, meaning of an independent nature, have prepared you in some way for your eventual, like, let's say, larger budgeted films, such as The Fast and the Furious or Crank High Voltage? Was there anything you took away from the indie experience that carried over to major film?
You know, I think I can say that working on indies, it shouldn't have, but I guess it has. You know, when you're working on those small budget indie films, the budget's tight, and you got to be on point. When they call action, you better be prepared, because there's, you know, we're working with what we got, and what we got is what we got. You know what I'm saying? So you better make the best of it. So I guess, and even on the bigger projects, you take that mentality and you're on point, as you should always be, though. To those bigger projects where a lot more money is being put in, you got to knowing that, or going through the experience of working on the smaller projects and knowing that maybe you only have a few takes to get it. You take that to the bigger projects, and you know, you could be saving them. You could be saving them money by being on and having everything prepared.
Definitely. Makes a lot of sense there, certainly. Okay, I want to shift gears just a little bit again. Very recently on my sister show, Sin's Chat Corner, I was very, very blessed in that I had the opportunity to interview, if I could talk today, the very infamous Douglas Spain, who cast you in your part in the production of Mission Park. For those that are unaware, Mission Park tells a colorful story of four friends whose lives, their paths find them on opposite ends of the law. First off, did you and Douglas maintain some sort of a friendship or camaraderie or relationship prior to the film's creation?
No. I found out about the film, I believe, a couple years. It had been on IMDb, and I'd seen my friends were in it, Walter Perez and Jeremy Ray Valdez, and I was like, I wanted to be a part of this project because my friends were doing it. And so actually me and Jeremy Ray Valdez had just finished up another film called All She Can, which you know about from Sundance. And on the way back on the plane ride, I was like, what's going on next? He's like, Mission Park. I'm like, dude, what is that movie about? I go, I want in. I go, I just want to be with the guys. You know what I'm saying? I was like,
right.
I go,
right.
I'll be an extra. Like,
oh my God! Really?
Not literally, but you know what I'm saying. I was just like, I want to. Just my point was, I want to be in the movie, and
right.
So they're like, all the main roles are locked in, and I was like, fuck. All right, well, whatever. If there's something there, if there's something there, let me know. Well, the casting directors were really pushing for me that they did All She Can. They were somehow tied into Mission Park. I guess they were doing the casting for that as well. The local Texas hires. And they're like, you know what, you got to see this kid, J.J. Soria. He just did All She Can. We think he'd be great for the role of Derek. And they presented the audition to my agent. Like, we got to call up at this film, Mission Park. Here's the material. I looked at the material, and I was like, oh, wow. There's specifically one scene in the film that really would give me the opportunity to show what I can do. And that's how it was presented to me. I mean, I knew about it, but I didn't know I had a shot at it until, having to audition for it.
Sure.
And then eventually, a little further insight on that is I had to turn down, I had to actually choose between doing End of Watch, the Jake Gyllenhaal film, and doing Mission Park. And because they had presented an offer to me on End of Watch, and I was like, man, I know that movie was going to be great. I knew it was from the jump. I read the script, and the director was awesome, the writer-director who wrote End of Watch, and now also directing it, had written Training Day. So I was a fan of his work, and was elated about the opportunity to work on this project. But I had to go with my gut. I'm like, nah, I got to do Mission Park. This is going to show what I can do. Yeah, as opposed to the other role. The other role wasn't a character that I felt like I wouldn't be remembered. And in Mission Park, you'll definitely remember the character I'm playing.
Oh my goodness gracious, that'll be wonderful. Actually, do you think you might collaborate again in the future with him, or is there a discussion of that?
With Douglas? Yeah, I'm sure it'll happen again.
That's wonderful. He is such an amazing person. Very, very true to himself. Very, very honest. Very accomplished. There isn't one bad word I could say about him. And obviously, we all share the same friend in Rolando Molina. I'm sure that you know Rolando, or Rolo, I should say.
Rolo, that's my boy. But I have tons of bad words.
Him.
I got tons of bad words to say about Douglas Spain. Just kidding. I
was just going to say, I'm just waiting for you to say, just kidding, because I know that was going to be going there, obviously. It's amazing. I mean, the collaboration of all the different fellows, actually. I was curious to ask you this, because obviously you were on set and I wasn't. I saw that Sean Patrick Flannery had been cast in there. And to be honest with you, I just looked at him and it just resonates. He's too, not clean cut, but he just seems atypical for this film, or is it my imagination?
Atypical? I don't even know what that means.
Meaning... Well, like for instance, obviously, you look at a film and you look at the other characters around it, like people who've been cast and what they'd be good for character-wise, and it just seems as though he doesn't seem to fit within the course of the film. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but it never he never popped that out of me as not fitting in. I think he did his job. It didn't feel wrong when I watched the film. You know, here's how I can put it. He didn't take me out of it. So
okay.
I thought he fit fine. He was. I think
What's
he
that?
was. I think he was. Yeah.
Okay, got it. Yes, he is actually fine. He doesn't have to be a friend of yours, is he? Because he's gorgeous and I'm in lust with him. So if I can get a date, I'd be really happy. Throwing that out there.
As far as was if he's that fine, I wasn't referring to, but yeah, it's okay.
I was referring to that part. I just went on that limb right there, like, oh my God, is he pretty? Because he is damn pretty. I just got to say that. It's not a Charlie Hunnam, but he's okay. We like that. I'm a girl. What do you expect? Come on, give me a break. Finally, speaking to this film, just curious. What one thing, or what do you want the audience to take away from this experience, watching you in this particular performance? What do you want the audience to take away from this, as far as your performance goes?
In Mission Park, I really want them to, because he's initially an antagonist in the film. I want people to feel for him. I want people to actually end up rooting for him. That's my personal goal. I want the audience to feel for him and actually care for him and like I said, root for him.
Gotcha. I understand. Okay. Now, moving right along, let's get to Sons of Anarchy for a little bit, obviously, because we are Sam Crow Radio, so I do need to cover on that a little bit.
Definitely.
Yeah. You know, I've noticed, first and foremost, in just looking at your career collectively before we get to Sons, I must say that you're another one of those young men whose television career kind of falls directly along that path of drama. I mean, it just seems to me that there's a lot of you guys really that typically will work within that genre of drama. Meaning, for instance, if we look back at some of your masterpieces of acting, you've obviously been on The Shield, Dexter, CSI Miami, NCIS, The Closer. Those are all of the dramatic genre, obviously. And then, of course, Sons of Anarchy. First off, is it ever a turnoff for you as an actor personally when, like, for instance, some of these roles clearly, I guess, in my own mind would, you know, resonate themes such as murder on a constant basis, there's a whole lot of blood, et cetera, et cetera. Frankly, I would think you'd be kind of grossed out being on set. Or am I just being a chick? Do you know what I mean? Because I'm sure that there's all sorts of theatrical stuff.
You're just being a chick. I love it.
Thanks a lot.
I love the dramatic genre. You know, people love drama. Actually, women love drama. So it's good. It's good to be in their sights. So, no, the blood, the shooting of guns is all fun. It's fun stuff. And then obviously the work, the material that sometimes I get to play with is you get to go to interesting places. Dark places, which is it makes for a great performance and great material.
Oh, definitely. Have you ever found yourself, and again, because you're in the dramatic side of things, have you ever found yourself scared on set? You know, because like, for instance, Dexter, I could be sitting here in daylight and it scares the bejesus out of me sometimes. So I'm kind of like, were you ever on the television set anywhere where you're just like, this is freaking me out? Do you know what I'm saying?
No, I think I was the person on set that was supposed to be making everyone else freak out. That's the character. You know what I'm saying? My characters are usually the ones that are supposed to be doing that. They're supposed to be the inputting the fear into others. So, no, I never felt scared on set.
Okay. Because, you know, I mean, obviously, and do not take this the wrong way, because some people might misconstrue this, but for those of you who have ever looked at your face before, it's pretty obvious that, you know, you just don't resonate scary. Like if I were to walk up to you in LA right now and, you know, obviously you're not in character and I get that, but just you have somewhat of a baby face sort of appearance to you. I'm sure you've probably heard that before. Do you know what I mean? Does that ever prove as a disadvantage in trying to get your point across, meaning in a performance?
No, it hasn't. And I believe it's because when I tap into that other side of me, for that character, I have another look that comes across. I mean, people see it in my eyes. When I go to a certain area, I've never thought about that as a negative. Maybe I could be a cute killer.
That was extremely well put. He's a very attractive serial killer. Thank you. Let's invite him to our house. Not. Okay.
Yeah, right, exactly. I would so invite you back to my house if I didn't think you were going to kill me.
Yeah, no kidding, right? I'm sure that probably scores you some brownie points. Not. I wouldn't think so. Ugh, the whole thing, I'm probably just being a chick. You're probably absolutely right. Have you ever, and again, this is just your own opinion as you as a person, your reflections as it relates to maybe, like today's drama, drama series as a whole, do you think that most of them are trying to send some sort of a nonverbal message to society, or do you think that the violence in some way is overstated? I mean, I know sometimes people, we live in a very tumultuous life is not good right now. We have bombings, we have threats, we have all sorts of personal tragedy that are going on. Some people truthfully believe that some of the messages that come across from a dramatic series or things you watch on television, people try to mirror that in real life. Do you think that might be factual to some degree?
That people are doing...
Like, for instance, let's say Joseph plays a character on screen, and then somebody goes running off and says, oh, okay, well, your character decided to, do this, or this on screen. Do you think some people get these nonverbal messages, or they take it away from watching something on television and then parallel it in real life?
I don't know. I've tried to think about that, and because that's not how I think. I would just have to say I don't know. I mean, I can't grasp that. What I see on TV is entertainment. I mean, if there's a certain message, usually it's there's a message of a story, but I've never looked at something happen. A negative thing happen and feel the urge to, well, if they can do it, I can do it, or
Sure.
So I can't. Since I don't relate to that, I don't see how other people. I don't understand it. If that's what's going on in some cases, I can't. That's unfortunate.
No, I understand. No, I know exactly, right? Has there ever been a point in your career where you felt remotely disappointed in a series election to not have your character return or cease to exist?
Of course. I'm done.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
And if someone knows Kurt, get me back on the show. I love it. Everyone on that show is awesome. From the cast and crew, they are such a family type atmosphere, and I mean, this is coming from somebody who worked on the project for a couple of days, 2 or 3 days. I think I worked on it.
Right.
But you could.
Right.
But there was this. It's just a very friendly environment, and everyone's having a good time at work, doing what they love, and that's the type of place you want. I mean, I have the same experience on Army Wives, but there's some sets where you don't have that camaraderie with everybody, but it's definitely on Sons, and I think it plays into the chemistry on screen. It plays into everything that makes Sons of what. So it's. I wouldn't just want to go back because of the quality of the material, but because of the quality of the people.
Sure, I understand, definitely. Do you think, and again, another opinion question, do you think that working in television provides better avenues for success for an actor, let's say, than theater or film? I mean, because you've obviously worked in both. You've obviously been on the big screen, you've been on the little screen. Do you have an opinion as far as which avenue might help an actor? And this might even be one of the up-and-comers, too, like somebody that's listening that's considering doing something like this. Where do you think you need to, A, get your feet wet, and then second of all, collectively, where have you found the most success, or where do you think most will find success, period?
I don't have a theater background, but I would definitely think it would help. I mean, the closest thing to theater I've done is doing scene study in class.
Right. Okay.
But there's some, I guess, there's a quality of just really having the opportunity to dive in and work on your character for a long period of time, doing a run of a show, and find new nuances and everything. And in the character, which is you could bring that over into your film and television career. But I mean, on the same flip side of that token, you got stuff you can learn in film and television that you can't learn on a stage. So
I imagine definitely.
They're both there's pluses pluses on both sides.
Gotcha. Now, of course, the last question before we get to Sons of Anarchy, of course, is really more of just a Cindy question, just because I have to say that besides Sons of Anarchy, one of my absolute favorite shows is Dexter. Because in my opinion, I think both the production and the writing in many ways mirror the quality of Sons of Anarchy. As far as Dexter, you can't compare them, I know, but the quality of the writing, the quality of the casting, the quality of the production that comes out, it's amazing. So can you give me any good deal about Dexter? Because I love that show. I just want to know, what's it like to be on the set?
I'm reflecting on it. I've been on some quality shows and the quality sets, and when I say sets, I mean like the people on the set.
Right.
I just should say I've been on quality productions, and that's cast and crew. That's another group of people that they go in. They've been working together for a while, and it's like, you know, when you're doing a little recurring role in there, like I did, you jump right in and you do your job, and they're flowing. They're flowing. They set it up. They set their things, and it was a fun experience, especially playing the character I had to play. I got nothing but positive things to say about it. Good people.
Gotcha, I imagine. Now, and how ironic is this? And to be honest with you, that, as far as your Dexter role goes, and it's strange because if you look back at Dexter history, I know that there was a season there where, of course, Jimmy Smith happened to be the bad guy on Dexter, who now turns out to be Nero, of course, on Sons of Anarchy. So how ironic is that? I was like, oh, wouldn't it have been cool if you worked at the time when Jimmy Smith was on set? Now, of course, we have him on Sons of Anarchy. So it's weird how you guys kind of all go show to show and then end up like 6 degrees of separation. You know what I mean?
It so is. And I was having, I'm going to cut you off, but I was going to say, I was just having this conversation last night with Jeremy Ray Valdez and Gino Rodriguez from Philly Brown. I was like, it's
really?
We were having because yesterday was Danny Trejo's, was his birthday.
Right.
And, and Jeremy just finished the movie with him, and, and I think, was Emilio in that as well? I think, I can't remember if one or both of them were in it or not, but just I was like, man, isn't that crazy? I was just like, isn't that so crazy how we're all, it's like that 6 degrees of separation, you know, that we're sitting at this table, we all know each other, and it's like we're all connected. Either we work together or we know each other somehow, some way.
Right.
Or both.
Completely understandable. Definitely. Well, and, you know, not to mention the fact, of course, you've all worked in television before and things of that nature. The one other thing I wanted to ask about TV and working in television is compared to, let's say, like on a film, for instance. I know that other actors and individuals have come on the show and have said what can be somewhat tedious or frustrating to an actor at times is on a television set, you know, you can come in and do your role, but you just don't come in and do your role. You could be sitting there 5, 10, 15 hours. I imagine that might be the downfall as it relates to being in television as compared to film.
Yeah, I mean, TV moves pretty quick. There are downtimes where you could be sitting on set, and that is part. I think part of our profession, one of the challenges is being able to stay focused, being able to. You know, I mean, you can walk around, chit chat or whatever, but sometimes you got to keep checking back in and making sure that those emotions and everything is right there when you need to turn it on.
Right.
And just being able to maintain that focus for when you have to perform, that could be a bit draining at times. I mean, because I can only speak from my own experiences. Sometimes there's days where I just stay in my trailer because I know maybe I have a ton of work that day, and if it's really heavy material, I want work to be at its best. So I'll just stay by myself and stay in that zone. And if my first shot is at the beginning of the day, or my first scene is at the beginning of the day, and I don't come back until later on, I'll just, to the end of the day, I'll just lay in my trailer, listen to music,
try to either read a script and then check back in with my material. Make sure I'm emotionally available for whatever it is, and then when it's time to do it.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, to answer your question, is it like the downtime draining? Yeah, I mean, it can physically drain you, but hey man, it's part of the game. I don't complain about it.
Exactly. I don't blame you. There you go. Now, on to the big gig, though. As we started to say, obviously, Sons of Anarchy. Now, to some folks, I know that it might be unbeknownst to them, that you initially had read for an alternate part on Sons of Anarchy, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I read for Half Sack.
Okay. And eventually, of course, as we all know as fans, your claim to fame on the show became the character Roscoe, which you had played. If I were to ask you which role you think would have been more synonymous to the real life Joseph, meaning Half Sack or Roscoe, what would you tell me?
Oh man, I want to say Roscoe because I see myself as a leader. So that's I mean, I don't know if that's just I want to say who I would want to be, but that's where I'm going. That's my answer. I'm sticking to it. Roscoe.
I understand. That's fine. That is just fine. Now, this is one thing that I haven't addressed on the show before, and I guess I do this more so out of respect than anything else, obviously, because the individual, as we know, who played Half Sack in real life, unfortunately, very unexpectedly, had passed away. Some castmates have alluded in the past that his death was not unexpected to some degree. My question to you as far as this, did you, A, have a personal relationship with the actor who played this? You probably did not, did you?
No, I didn't. I watched this performance when I saw that, because, I follow up sometimes on projects that I wanted to do. I mean, I've wanted to be in Sons since the pilot. And then
of course,
when I didn't get that role, I wanted to see who got it, and I saw him. And that's the only familiarity I had with him was on screen.
Okay, I gotcha. Now, I know that I've asked other people this, and I guess I, as a fan, first and foremost, would be the first one to be able to tell you that if in just watching the show, and as I hear from casting, et cetera, because I'm not on the set, and you were obviously, does it seem the usual MO for the show as a whole to cast individuals who have been in motorcycle clubs, who have been within this lifestyle? I mean, did it seem a little odd to you that you were being cast? Because obviously your life mold doesn't fall right along those lines.
Again, I can only talk about what I know about, and I think they do their best to get people who have. I mean, like Emilio, Emilio really rides. He's the real deal. But at the end of the day, I think we're all performers, and they try to get the best, the closest fit to what they're really, to that authentic biker, I guess you could say. And whoever can make believe the best, I guess.
Okay. Now, second of all, to adequately prepare for a role such as obviously Sons of Anarchy, I mean, this show is a little bit different than other shows, obviously. Was there a particular individual who was on set, obviously character-wise, a lot of these guys have been in the industry for a significant amount of time. Did you connect in particular with any one individual, or did someone offer some helpful advice to you as it relates to you being on the show?
Not necessarily. I mean, I right away connected myself with Emilio because I admire him and I admire what he's done with his career and his work. But I was well received, but there was nothing that that guy was giving any insight. They were just really positive about having me there and glad to work with me, and I was glad to work with them just the same. And there wasn't. I don't know if that answers your question.
No, that's good, actually. I know that one entity of the show that's particularly enticing to us, and again, I have to go back to the fact that, yes, I'm a girl. So, of course, I'm going to notice two things, and I've said this before. First of all, obviously, the individuals that get cast on the show, and I continue to say it, it's not often that he'll cast someone who's unattractive. I mean, that's just the nature of the beast here, apparently. You know, is that if you look time and time again, the individuals on the show are attractive, and some of which are naked half of the time, which, you know, as a girl, we appreciate that kind of stuff. So it led me to want to ask this question. So for you in your career and prior performances, not Sons of Anarchy, were you ever asked to perform in that manner? And if you haven't in the past, would you consider that?
I have a little butt shot in Mission Park, you know. So the scene is that, well, that's not giving anything away, so I could talk about it. I have like this threesome with two girls, and you're catching the very end of it. Unfortunately, we didn't get to go through all the actual scene because I wouldn't have objected at all. But would I object to doing nudity? No. As long as it's on it's how you say it.
Basically done.
Merited? Is it merited? Is that the right word? Like, as long as it makes sense, basically. As long as it makes sense for the scene, then I'm game.
I gotcha. I understand. And just out of curiosity, as an actor, do you think that sort of meaning performing naked, let's say, or having a nude scene, do you think that it adds to a film at all by any means whatsoever? I mean, or do you think it's just done for, well, the obvious purposes? Do you know what I'm saying?
Say it one more time.
As far as the angle goes, as far as when a director or somebody, a casting person goes to you and says, you know, I want you to do this nude scene, do you think that it enhances a film whatsoever in any manner, shape, or form, or is it just done to accent the physicality of someone? Because obviously us as actors, we don't know that. We don't know if there's an ulterior motive there.
I think when it comes to story, it's, you know where it may have enhanced the film? Because the only reason I remember this is because they made a big deal about it, was when Halle Berry showed her breasts in, what was it? What movie was it? She showed her breasts and they're like...
Monsters Ball?
Was that it? And they made a big deal about it. I think it was
Monsters Ball with Billy Bob Thornton. Yep.
They paid her a ridiculous amount of money. It was a great movie. But she wasn't going to show her boobs or like be naked or whatever. Her breasts, however you want to phrase it. She wasn't gonna show anything off unless they paid her right or something. They made a big deal about that, and for some reason that to me, it stood out. It was like, oh, Halle Berry is naked in this movie, you know. So and we're talking about that it was a big thing. So in that case, I say it enhanced the film. You know, it brought more attention to it. But most of the time, I believe it's. I don't think. Thinking about it. There's times.
That's
where,
okay. You can think about it.
Yeah.
That's okay. I don't need like a definitive right now.
There's times where I mean even on our show, otherwise they talked about guys taking their shirts off or whatever because women. It's a show that's watched by women, and women want to see attractive guys with their shirt off. Makes sense. We're sexual beings.
Of course.
So
right, of course, definitely. It's got to draw on that physicality at times.
Yeah, so it sure as hell doesn't hurt. So it can bring more attention to a project. Yes, my final answer.
Gotcha. Perfect answer. Thank you. And obviously, again, since you were a cast member on the show, two different things. Were you a fan? I was always intrigued to ask that because most people will go on the show just because they've been a fan of the show. So were you even familiar with the show before you got cast?
Talking about Sons, of course. That's what I said. Like when I read the pilot, I was a fan of the pilot. I gotta admit, like I told you before, that my perspective on what the show was looking for was off in the beginning. But then once I actually saw the show, I was like, oh, that's what they're going for. And I saw the quality of it and the scripts, the storylines that I was seeing, because I didn't see the scripts, but like the storylines that I was seeing, I was like, oh wow, this is a really good show. I want to do this show. Yes, I was a fan. I kind of fell off after a while, life and everything, but didn't fall off as a fan, but just, you start doing other things in life. But I definitely actually ended up looking to get into the series and just watching them through.
Sure. Definitely. Now, again, because you are a fan, I guess this would be more of a fan question than an actor question. Looking at the show from obviously first season to where we are right now, are you impressed, and or is this where you thought that the show was going to go, or was he kind of surprising you like along with the rest of us, especially with this last season and some of the things that have gone on? Were you expecting that, or is he just kind of taking things to a new realm, do you think? Kurt Sutter.
I think I think at the beginning of the season, he doesn't really know where he's going to go with it, and then it plays out how it plays out in his head. You know what I'm saying? And I like how he does it. I like how he stuff happens that you don't expect to happen, or that you're like, no, I wish that didn't happen, because it pulls at your heartstrings. So I think the way he's going about it is great. That's all I can say.
I gotcha. Definitely makes sense to me, too. And I would agree with that. I mean, I think that, do you think in any ways casting, writing, or even the subject matter, do you think that Sons might be superior to some of the other series that are out there? Do you think he really accomplishes superiority in all three of those?
That the show is, say it again?
It's as it relates, is he superior in terms of the casting, the writing, and the subject matter? Do you think all three of those might be superior to most of the other shows that are out there right now?
Yeah, it's definitely one of the top shows on television, no doubt. The quality of the writing, the quality of the characters, and I love his character that he plays.
Otto.
Otto.
You mean Otto's character with no tongue now? I shouldn't have just said that for those that don't know that. Crap.
But,
that's a spoiler alert right there.
That scene was amazing. That scene was amazing. Wow. But I love how he plays it. I'm not trying to toot his horn, but he plays that. He's perfect for that part. It's great.
I agree. I definitely do. I think he's great for the part, and I think the Gemma part is amazing. I think it's wonderful. Is there one thing that you took away from the set that you can share with us? Something, obviously, because those that listen to this show primarily are all huge fans of the show. So, you being on the back lot, whereas we don't get privy to that sort of place. Tell us something funny that you remember, something special from your time at Sons of Anarchy.
Just being able to work with all those guys, the talent on that set, that cast, is phenomenal. So just being able to rub elbows with those guys and to work with those guys, to be a part of that, just as a whole, was awesome. Looking at the bikes, those bikes aren't too shabby either. They're cool bikes.
Right.
It was just a fun time in general.
And this is a good thing. I like that. And I like the fact that you have an open-ended character as far as you yourself, meaning that the possibility of you being able to come back and retain your role isn't out of the question, you think?
And I'm still waiting for that call.
Well, we're all hoping and crossing our fingers. I thought of that. I was like, oh, God, wouldn't that be wonderful for him to get back there, even if it's just for a little bit. I always say that about the Mayans, too.
Even if they bring me back just to kill me off or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like, just to come back on that show, and to be like I said before, honestly, I believe I have a lot to offer that show, just because I get the vibe now. I get I honestly feel I have a lot to offer with that character, given the opportunity. He could provide something for the show, something a little different, but fit right into the mix.
I would agree.
And again, those are a great group of people to work with.
There you go. Okay, folks, that's what we need to do. So if Kurt doesn't put him on the show, we're going to have to start writing him and pestering him and saying, hey, help our little buddy get back on the show here. That would be lovely.
I saw one of the writers. I saw one of the writers at a birthday party one day, and I was very adamant. I was like, write me back into the show. So,
that would be awesome, wouldn't it? I mean, it's a great gig. Who's not going to say that it's not a great gig?
Yeah.
It would be lovely. Absolutely. Definitely. Okay, I'm going to switch gears a little bit again here, obviously, and we're going to talk a little bit about Hector Cruz, your role on Army Wives, obviously. First of all, congratulations, because as I understand it, of course, you're going to be a series regular for that show, which is awesome. Absolutely
well, yeah,
awesome.
I am now. This
well,
season,
you are my first introduction to Army Wives. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't know anything about Army Wives. Don't watch it, didn't know anything about it. You're my first introduction into this, actually. I'm just not familiar.
You know, the more I hear that, I think it's awesome.
It is. I have a huge admiration for the whole subject matter to begin with, obviously military and the whole 9 yards and stuff like that. And as I understand it, up until recently, and when I didn't know any better, people have given me just really positive feedback about the show, you know, and that sort of stuff. So I have a couple questions about that role, obviously. First of all, to the show itself, like Speak to Army Wives itself, what do you think makes it so wildly popular with audiences? I mean, is there a relatability factor in some way, you think, or what is it about your show that makes people continue to keep coming back on a regular basis?
Well, obviously, there is a relatability with wives that are in the Army. And, I mean, I think almost all of us have someone that we are associated with, whether it be through blood or friend, that's in the military, in our armed services. So it's something that we can relate to and just feel like we're in some way seeing a little bit of insight of what's going on in their lives. You know, the show has been able to touch on some topics that are true topics, you know, like PTSD and obviously just the whole adjusting to the lifestyle. It's because it's not the regular type of life that they lead. And just the different protocols that they go through on a daily basis. But yeah, you could definitely relate to, like I said, if you have a family member in there, it kind of hits close to home. And plus, you know,
definitely.
It's dealing with our men and women that serve.
Definitely, I agree, and that begs to ask the next question, which is, for you personally, does that make you kind of, so to speak, step it up as far as your performance goes? Because obviously you know who you're representing. So is that important to you that everything is just right, dead on for that?
Yeah, you know, as much as I want to say that every role I want to say I step it up for all my roles, there was that feeling. There still was that feeling because I have friends that I respect all my friends, but that I respect and admire that are in the service, and my uncle that was in the service. When I was going to portray someone in the service, I was like, okay, this has to be on point because I don't want. Number one, you're representing somebody that is protecting this country, you know, and I respect that. I respect that. So I want to do my best to present that in the right manner, and I think I've done so because the feedback that I'm getting is all positive.
Yeah.
So, yeah, to answer your question, yes, there was this feeling of I need to bring my A game. I need to be on point.
Oh, of course, certainly. I understand that completely. Now, when you become a series regular, meaning that, you know, there's a difference between somebody who's just on for a very big part as compared to somebody who's a regular series actor. Now, do you find that this ever affects your ability to be able to participate in other projects due to that?
Ooh, too well.
Really?
Yeah, it's happened. There was just recently there was this new HBO pilot that just got picked up that they wanted me for. What's the name of the show? At the time I auditioned for it, it didn't have a title, but it was a great project, and it was going to show me play. I've been playing a gay character, which has been on a whole other spectrum, and something that would have been great for my reel and just great so people could be like, wow, you know, I didn't think you could play that. As an artist, that would have been great to do. Then also another one was a show called Graceland that's coming out. That's kind of looks like a really cool show. I couldn't do it because
I'm doing Army Wives. But you have your journey, and everything happens for a reason. And
Right.
so to answer your question, yes, there's a conflict. Yeah, but it's again, it's part of what we signed up to do. You can't until we're able to clone ourselves and put ourselves on every different location. It's just how it's going to be.
I know exactly what you mean. I get it. I understand that, actually. And I wanted to, before we go any further, actually, I wanted to just take 30 seconds because, of course, I'm sure that you know that today is Armed Forces Day. In case you didn't know, I'm telling you. So because of that, there's such a significance that kind of surrounds today, obviously, because all of us at some point in time, whether we're related or not, have someone that we know who's in the military, who's served in the military, all that good stuff. And as you referenced, obviously, you've had family members in the military, as I understand it. I guess one thing that I want to do is to share with you and obviously to the rest of the audience, which I said I was going to do earlier. I had written a piece about 2 years ago because I'm an author, and this is something that is just a true thank you to the military, basically. So perhaps I was thinking I'll read this to you, and then the next time you portray your character, maybe you can kind of encompass something that you get out of this into your role. How does that sound?
Sounds great.
Okay, awesome. The name of the piece is, and of course this is on my page for those who are on my friends list, and of course it's also on the Sam Crow Radio page. It's a piece entitled Splendid Valor, and it goes something like this. Blessed to possess a noble character, fearless and tenacious in spirit, a polished propensity for continual altruism, consummate projection of iconic heroism, possessing robust determination to the pursuit of peace, your career personifies a testimonial of love. Bestowing sufficient recognition of your accolades proves to be an eternal task. Furnishing our immunity from oppression warrants our consistent praise. Forever shall we persist in our quest to pay adequate homage. Humbled I am to coexist within your gallant realm. So that's a piece I just kind of constructed, and it basically serves as just a kind of a thank you. I think that most of us, unfortunately, It's wonderful to have, a character portrayal on TV, but this is real life. This is what these guys do every day, all year round, to save us and to serve our country and to give us peace. So kudos to all you guys out there. I just thought it's really necessary that people get appreciated, and we probably should do that. Thank you. We should do that like all year round, I know. So I want to switch gears again because, unfortunately, I don't see anybody blowing up my phone line. I'm not real happy about that. I had posted up and told people, I said, once the hour's up, which it's been, that they could call in. But, I think they're probably afraid to talk to you, which is not a big deal because then I get to talk to you. I get to get them all to myself. Yay, thank you. I want to switch over and just do fun facts because there's stuff. I always try to do fun facts because a lot of times fans don't know you except for what they see on a Facebook page or, of course, what they see on screen, obviously. So to most, or to the average eye, in looking at you, you reflect a youthful and athletic fellow. Obviously, of course, you have mentioned to me that I can't ask you your age, so I'm not going to do that, but I'm just going to say that typically to most of us that look at you, you appear to be very youthful in age, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Do you ever feel that it serves as a disadvantage as it relates to when you're opting for a part that's more mature, let's say? And this is without knowing your age.
Yeah, okay. It's happened. But I think I'm able to play a pretty wide range, but when it comes to playing a little bit older, late 20s, or maybe even 30s, I've gone for roles like that, and it playing in that area has been a bit of a challenge to get the job because usually someone who's older is playing that role, that age range. So yeah, there's been times where that's come into play.
Okay, I gotcha. Now, as I understand it, and I could be mistaken, but as I understand it, your nationality, you are Mexican, is that correct?
No, I'm black and Japanese.
Oh, now I know that things are really off base here, because let me tell you, I've dug around and I've dug around, and
I'm totally kidding. I'm Mexican and Spanish.
Okay, the reason I'm asking this is because, of course, we all know in the world, internet or otherwise, and even in conversations sometimes, there have been people who have, and the same thing happened to Emilio, obviously, largely, because there's been a number of reports that indicate that you're a Latin actor, and I'm thinking, Latin? Of all the things you could be, I'm like, I don't see the Latin reference. So does that happen to you often where people will confuse your nationality or, you know, I mean, I guess I just don't get it. I mean, how often, I mean, does it ever really bother a particular actor out there because you're more in the Hollywood realm as far as reports that come out that you just know are completely blindsided or that are completely untrue?
I'm not really understanding the question.
Meaning, okay, you're a public figure, for instance. So let's say I go out tomorrow and I say, hey, Joseph is so-and-so. And you know that a lot of these paparazzi reports and otherwise or things out on the internet are completely false or fabricated. Does that ever, I mean, to the average person, I mean, does it become cumbersome or bothersome to you? And how do you address those sorts of things? Because you're obviously in a professional light.
Well, you know, my approach to that, I haven't really been hounded with stuff like that, but my approach to it when if that ever happens is just go with it. Whatever they say all right, it's true, whatever it is. Because people are going to believe what they want to believe regardless. So it's let them get their kicks. At the end of the day, you know it's real. You know what I'm saying? So I really don't care too much about. I'm not invested. I just don't care enough. I don't care enough to invest my energy in that.
I understand.
So it doesn't
makes
bother.
Perfect sense, of course. Okay. Now, I know that you have proclaimed in the past to be one of the, and I'm sure abundantly large number of groups out there who happen to enjoy the work of Aaron Sorkin. I'm just curious to ask you, what do you enjoy about his productions or his work?
Man, the quality of that writing is phenomenal.
I know.
And he just,
I know.
I cannot wait to work on a project of his. He's just so damn smart. You know, I've heard him talk, and it's like he's just has so much knowledge, and just the way he writes is just beautiful, and it's so real. Especially for someone like myself who talks fast, you know, I would pick up on his cadence real quick. But they're fast thinkers. A lot of the characters that he has, they're quick. And I like to think of myself as that at times. So that style, I just really dig it, and I think I relate to it.
Sure. Okay. Now, another fun fact for you here. Despite the fact that you were cast on a motorcycle club themed show, you yourself are not a motorcycle rider, which I think would probably shock most that are listening because almost everybody who comes on here has either ridden or rides or has a bike or two or three. Is that an interest that you even have remotely to even do just for yourself personally? Learning how to ride, buying a bike, all that good stuff?
It so is. I mean, I even talked to Emilio about helping me look for a bike. He's like, when you're ready.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, that is gonna happen eventually.
Okay.
The only bike I've ever ridden is a dirt bike, and that was way back when. I was like 12 when I rode it. Yeah, and it was what inspired it was being on the show. You know, I was like, oh man, I need to learn to ride a bike, and then it just became about looked like something that would be fun to do, a cool hobby.
Oh, yes, it is, definitely. I'm so excited. I'll be on a bike in less than 24 hours. So I'm like, oh, big rally, really exciting. It's a great deal of fun, especially with summertime, obviously. I think that three of the things that best speak to you as a person is your very, very huge sense of determination, positivity, and high motivation. So what, is there one person or one event or one thing in your life that speaks to that, meaning why you have these very strong qualities? Where do those come from?
Well, a friend of mine had a seminar, a self-improvement seminar that I went to, and I think I was like 4 years into my career or something, and you know, I was working and stuff, but I went to the seminar, and it shined a light on just a new way of thinking, just programming your mind to just be positive and just I've always been determined and persistent. You know, those qualities have always been a part of me. But really looking at the cup half full as opposed to half empty was something that was new to me, I guess. And to a certain degree. I've always been a hard worker and everything. I mean, if I work hard, I'll get it. But when you start attracting things through energy, when you believe that, it's really true. It happens. Things don't happen by coincidence. You attract it, and that's what I believe to be true, and I've experienced in my life to be the case. So that was a big influential moment in my life was going through that. And then I've also gone to like Tim Robbins' seminar too. Those things really, the space dealt with the same things. It was basically like a refresher course, going to Tim's seminar. But yeah, that's those events just brought a new way of thinking for me, and been living that way ever since.
And that's a great way to live, actually. It is. It's a really good way to live, especially nowadays. There's so many things out in society and things going on in the real world that can be so discouraging, and families having issues. And it's a really, really good way to look at things. I advocate that strongly. That's awesome. It's just one reason I like you. One of a few, I might add. A couple other fun facts for people. If Joseph was sitting at home at some point in time, you would be catching him watching America's Top Chef, or you would be listening to Pitbull, who's one of my personal favorites, and he's not bad looking for a guy's age. Apparently you're digging frosted mini wheats, which is kind of cool, I think, because I have two small children who would sit and eat with you, so that's awesome. As far as we have to ask this question because chicks listen to my show, and the number one question they always want to ask is do I have a shot with the guy who's on our show? So I got to ask the inevitable question, and hopefully you'll tell me the truth, which is, do girls have a chance at you, or are you completely off the market?
No, I would say this. I'm on display.
Display.
I'm not really available for purchase right now. I'm really focused on my career. But there's, you never know. So sometimes the display gets bought. It happens. I see my mom. She's down at the store, and I'll take the display one, and then she's getting it. But as for myself, let's say I'm the display item. Kind of like it. It's fun.
Oh my God.
So
okay. So you're digging that.
I'm right now I'm focused on my career, and if the right girl comes along that I feel fits the criteria of what I'm looking for, and a significant other, then yeah, try it out, see what happens. But as far as am I tied down to anybody? No.
Okay, got it. So girls, you have a shot. So if you live in LA, visiting LA, et cetera, there you go. There's your boy right there. Exactly. So we have two more things to cover here. First of all, I wanted to talk about the one quote that you had given me, which I personally like the most, which is acting is my passion, inspiring is my purpose. So explain to individuals out there where you came up with that and what your true intention is as it relates to this being a life mantra for you.
It's pretty self-explanatory. Acting is my passion. I'm very passionate about what I do, and I use that. I realize my life's purpose is to use that platform that I'm given to inspire other people to believe in themselves. So, that's it right there. And if I had to go into more detail, it's just about. I will say this: the greatest feeling I have had in my life is being able to impact people's lives in a positive manner, and that's saying a lot because of that. It's saying a lot because of how much I am in love with what I do. If I am committed to anything, it is my career. That is the one thing I am so committed to, like a girlfriend, or a spouse, or something. I'm so committed to what I do, and to say that the feeling that I get of inspiring people is even better than the feeling of what I do as an actor. So I hope you understand that. That means that it's a great deal. There's no other feeling. It's priceless to be able to have someone send you an email or whatever, or just tell you that this is how you affected their life and how it changed their perspective on life, and how they've lost weight because of believing in themselves and because of stuff that I've said, and
And it's such a blessing. It really is a blessing to be able to be like, you've made a difference. You've made a difference in someone's life. How awesome is that?
Yes, I know. I do. I know exactly what it feels like. It's an amazing feeling. Just had that happen not so long ago, so I know what that's like. That really makes, it makes me feel like I'm doing my job like I should. And I'm not in radio just to inspire people 100%, but it surely helps. It 100% helps. It's amazing.
Yes.
That's why I get exactly what you're talking about. It's awesome.
And
Absolutely
it's my fans and the ability to reach out to people through this platform is one of my motivations to become one of the best in this business, because of the more successful I am in this industry, the bigger the spotlight, and the more people are going to listen to what I'm saying. And the more people that listen to what I'm saying, the goal is to get everyone to believe in themselves and believe that no matter what walk of life you come from, you could accomplish anything that you put your mind to and are willing to work hard at.
Exactly.
That's what I want to get out there.
Cool. Very cool. Okay, I got two more little items to sum up here, and I think we're good to go. First of all, I want to run through this real quickly because I don't want to forget any of this. I, of course, am friends with you on Facebook, so you know that individuals can find you there directly on Facebook. I see that you have a Twitter handle, which is at JJSORIA. You are on Tumblr, I know. You are obviously have a profile on IMDb, and some of your works theatrically and both television and film can be found on YouTube, can be found on Netflix, Blockbuster, etc. Any other ways, social media-wise, to find you?
I have a Tumblr. I didn't even know I had that. Maybe
look at that.
Maybe
See, if you didn't come on this show, you wouldn't have found that. It's got your face on it, honey. So I assume it's got your face on it. You're there, right?
I guess so.
See.
I didn't even know that was there. All right, cool.
Yeah, very cool. Any other place to find you?
No, just right now, Facebook, Twitter, which is JJ Soria, SORIA, Instagram. Now, I'm always posting up pictures of myself on Instagram.
What a shock, right? There's a shock. Go to his Facebook and take a look. You can't miss him because he's there all the time. It's a new picture, it's a new face. That's not a bad thing, though. You know what? You're staying in tune with your audience, and people are able to see you, and that's not a bad thing. It's definitely not.
Yeah, I'm very socially social media friendly. I interact with my fans all the time, to the point to where, and it's cool that it's like my own little community. You know, my fans become friends of each other because the conversations that we have, and even to the point that they consider me a friend, which is awesome. That they feel like people have sent me messages or just even just said, I feel like I know you, and that was the whole goal. That was the whole purpose for me even setting up an account, was to be able to have with the fans that want that type of relationship with me, and I wanted people to get to know me. You know what I'm saying? That who are interested. I wanted them to see who I was as a person, and then obviously see my work, and again, be able to inspire people and get to know who I am at the same time. It's cool. And then I look up. It's not just they look at my page. I look at my fans' pages. I see what's going on in their lives. I'm interested. These people support. These people support me in my journey, and when I can, I support them in theirs. If someone's going through a tough time, I'll send them a message. I love people in general, and then those people that support me in my journey, then I'm just willing to do the same in theirs.
Makes perfect sense. Of course, perfectly. Okay, last thing we wanted to talk about is the obvious, which is we need to let individuals out there that are listening or that might be listening, where do we find you next, or what do you have upcoming in the near future that we can look for, production-wise?
Well, right now it's obviously Philly Browns in theaters, and then Mission Park comes out September 6th. It'll be in theaters, so really want people to check that out. Obviously, tomorrow night, Sunday night, Army Wives, every Sunday, 9 p.m., 8 Central. Last 3 episodes of the season, they're going to be really, really good. And then I have a few projects that are in the works right now. Nothing I can officially speak upon because it's nothing signed, sealed, and delivered. But I have projects interested in me in starring in a couple of things or co-starring, and should be happening later on this year.
Oh my gosh, how exciting is that? Ooh, and then hopefully with any luck at all, Kurt Sutter's going to call you and be like, hey, you need to get on the show. Wouldn't that be awesome?
If Kurt Sutter called me up to ask me to come on the show, I would in a heartbeat do it.
Okay, got it. Okay, that's my job now is to work on that to make sure that you go ahead and get on the show. Yeah, I'll try to do that. I will try to just call him up tomorrow and say, hey, why don't you go ahead and hook my boy up? Why don't you? I can try that. I don't know if that's going to work. I know. It's just one of those things. What can I say? I wanted to take this opportunity because I don't know if you've heard this show before, obviously, but you should know that the very last thing that we do on Sam Crow Radio, just like my other show, is I take 30 seconds to tell my guest exactly what I think of him. So we're at that last 30 seconds. So I get a chance to, hopefully you're sitting down, I'm going to tell you my overall assessment of you. And then I'll let you go for your Saturday so I can get to my rally and you can get to your weekend, hopefully. So these are my observations, my friend, that I've gathered out of speaking to other people and speaking to you and doing research and what I know of you. First and foremost, I'm going to go back to what I've originally stated earlier today, which is this. It's always so encouraging to me, and of course, folks, this is only a guesstimate because he refuses to tell me how old he really is, of the fact that this very young man that I am speaking to is not only accomplished in his own right, but he's accomplished on a personal level just as much as he is professionally. I find it to be ultimately very, very refreshing that he has such a positive spirit about him and that he resonates said spirit to other individuals out in society. It's important to him that average, ordinary individuals are happy, present a positive attitude, and have the means and the wherewithal in society to be able to be motivated in this world. What you do personally is just as important as what you do professionally, and I think that you are overall and abundantly becoming very successful in both arenas. You obviously keep yourself physically in tune as well as emotionally. You're able to rise to the task of being able to give performances that those of us who watch are encapsulated with. We enjoy you. We appreciate you. We like what you bring to screen. I like you as a person. You're very, very refreshing. You're very out of the norm. I think that you're just absolutely darling. I'm very excited to see Philly Brown because I haven't seen it yet. And why? Not only because my good friend Emilio is in it, but because I truly believe that you get handpicked for bringing something special and out of the norm. And I think part of it is your personality, part of it's your attitude, and part of it's your acting. You've taken the very little education that you've been given, and you've turned it around, and you've made it work for you, and you do it consistently again and again. So all I can hope for you is that, A, that I retain your friendship, that, B, that I will find you ultimately on Army Wives for a very, very long and successful run. I can pray like hell that Kurt Sutter's going to call me tomorrow or anyone and say that you're going to be on the show. Not quite sure about that one, but we'll see. And I so hope that when I make my trip to California next month that you will be part of my journey to be able to meet my new friends. That's it.
No doubt. No doubt. I love it. I love it. Thank you for words.
Well, you're quite welcome. I only say the truth, and I have to tell you that honestly, I'm just, like I said, I'm very, very impressed. I do think that your performance on Army Wives and the fact that they've asked you back isn't a coincidence. I think you do a tremendous job for bringing things to the table that some may not necessarily. And I think because I'm going to guess you're younger, you have a heck of a long time to be able to work on that talent. And that's to say that it's not exquisite right now. I just think you're pencil marked for some really great things. And I really would like to be able to help you with that. And I certainly leave you with an open invitation back to Sam Crow Radio or my other show anytime you'd like.
Just let me know. I'm down for it. And, I'm so down for that. And definitely hit me up in regards to your trip when you come to LA. And I'm never afraid to say this, and the truth is I'm just getting started, and I have a lot to offer this industry. I don't say that out of boasting. I say that with confidence, and I say that because it's a fact. So I'm really excited to bring entertainment to and be able to make people feel emotions, which I think is amazing that you could portray characters on screen and someone who's thousands, millions, whatever, thousands of miles away can feel what you're expressing through that. It's beautiful.
Right. Exactly. I agree with you 100%. Definitely. Certainly. So we will all be watching you, and I think I agree. I agree with that.
And then on top of that,
yeah.
One last is that I would say that, and then on top of that, the icing on the cake is, or even a cake within itself, is being able to affect people's lives in a positive manner and leaving a legacy.
Right. Definitely. I would agree with you 100%. You, my dear, are developing your own legacy and your own legend and your own work on screen that's just so individualized. And for a young man, like I said, it's very impressive because you are one of the younger individuals that we've had on the show, and I think it definitely gives you a heads up in terms of you got great direction and great motivation, and you're great with inspiration. So keep going with it, my friend, and don't be a stranger, please.
Thanks, Mom.
Shout out to Mom.
Of course, always. I love it. That's my mother is everything, my world.
That's awesome. Absolutely awesome. All right, my darling, I thank you so much for being so cooperative and lending your time and your efforts to come and visit with us today, and I hope to be talking to you soon.
Sounds good.
All right, dear. Have a great weekend.
You too. Bye.
All righty. All right, folks, that was my exclusive interview with Joseph Soria. I want to say thank you so much to him one more time for coming onto our show today. It was very insightful, very, very young, very sweet man, just full of talent and full of just such good things. It's so refreshing in today's society to see an individual who's so duly inspired such as that and who can bring things to the table to inspire others. So kudos to you, my dear friend. Again, want to reiterate to people, he has a page on Facebook, and that's Joseph. Last name is spelled S-O-R-I-A. He can be followed on Twitter, and that's at JJSORIA. He has a presence on Tumblr, which shocked the hell out of him. He didn't know. And like I said, check him out with his IMDb profile, which is, of course, the movie database to see an extensive, complete list of all of his work, which, of course, coincidentally can either be found on Netflix, YouTube, Blockbuster, and, of course, your regular cable provider. I want to say thank you so much, of course, to Sam Crow for orchestrating our interview today because he is the mastermind behind finding all of the folks that come on our show. Working on next week as far as we know, as far as who our guest will be. So I just want to say, as it stands right now, we are not 100% certain yet, so I will keep you posted as far as that goes. I also want to throw something out there to those that, in case you haven't noticed this or aren't a friend of mine or haven't gone on to Sam Crow Radio page, there's a cause by the name of Lizzie's Ride that's out there that for this whole entire week I've been trying to promote. I'm actually leaving today to Indiana to participate in the run tomorrow. Basically, long and short of it is that there's a very dear biker friend of mine by the name of Jerry Lee who very sadly lost her daughter to a heart disorder at the very young age of 18 years. I'm very, very blessed that I've been asked to participate. I've been blessed to be able to help in a particular regard, and as I said, I'll be going there tomorrow. In case any of you haven't noticed, please be sure to go to my personal page or the Sam Crow page. I'll be posting up all sorts of various items for either Sam Crow Radio or for my other show that are for sale, 40% of which is all going to Jerry, and why we're trying to do two things here: pay off funeral expenses, and of course we'd like to provide a lovely headstone marker for her daughter and where she lies laid to rest. So tomorrow I'll be participating in the ride and going and spending some great time with friends. I would truly appreciate it if you just take a moment or two to check that out on there. And, of course, as always, please pass along to your friends, blogtalkradio.com/ and that's all one word, Sam, S-A-M, Crow, C-R-O, Radio, R-A-D-A-O, R-A-D-I-O. Thank you so much to all of you who've taken the time to listen in today. We always appreciate your kindness as it relates to passing along the word and participating and listening to our show because, of course, without you, there wouldn't be a show. And, of course, shout out to the Crow Eaters Club for all of their help as it relates to not only the show but participation in all sorts of things. I hope all of you have an absolutely wonderful weekend. Enjoy the nice weather, and we'll be talking to you sometime next week.
Napa know-how.
A Napa guy knows more isn't always better, unless we're talking about full-size vans. These beasts do more than get you from A to B. They have so much space a man can live in it. With shag carpeting, waterbed, and a sweet lava lamp, these mobile abodes have all the comforts of home. With quality parts and plenty of Napa know-how, you can keep the original tiny house running longer, stronger. That's Napa know-how.
Napa know-how.